Game 1 between the Las Vegas Anonymous Faces and the Seattle Shitbirds on ESPN, 461,000 viewers. The most dominant team in the league. They can't draw 500,000 viewers for a playoff game.
The WNBA just wrapped up its most successful season ever. Ratings surged, merchandise was selling out, and Caitlin Clark became the name everyone was talking about. But jump ahead just a few months, and suddenly the conversation has shifted to bankruptcy. How does a league fall from the top to the brink that quickly? Let's break it all down. Before we continue, I've got a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying this content, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us out in a big way. Did you hit that subscribe button? Awesome. Thank you. Now back to the story. Before Clark entered the picture, the WNBA was already in serious trouble. We're talking about losses of nearly $50 million every year. That's not a small hit. Viewership was sliding, fan interest was fading, and engagement was barely there at all.
However, I hope Kat Engelbert is ready for disappointment because there's a hell of a lot more of it on the way. They tried to convince us that there are other players in the dump capable of drawing an audience.
Things were looking bleak for women's basketball. Then suddenly, Caitlin Clark showed up and changed everything. One rookie flipped the entire script. Overnight, the WNBA became must-see TV. It was as if Clark snapped her fingers and made the league exciting again. But here's where it gets unbelievable. Her influence ended up being far bigger than anyone expected. And what happened after she was gone? Trust me, you're not ready for it. Stay with me because this story is about to take a sharp turn. What if one player really could reshape an entire league in an instant? Caitlin Clark didn't just elevate the game. She completely redefined what was thought possible in women's basketball.
More than likely, the WNBA, they won't see another Caitlin Clark in my lifetime. There were regular season games this season where Caitlin Clark drew more than 1.8 million viewers.
You know what's wild? One single player caused ticket sales to skyrocket by 265%. That's exactly what happened when Caitlin Clark joined the Indiana Fever. It was like she pulled out a magic wand, and suddenly the WNBA became appointment viewing. Now let's talk numbers, because they're jaw-dropping. Clark's playoff debut pulled in 1.84 million viewers. That alone is crazy, but it didn't stop there. Her second playoff game drew 2.54 million viewers. People were tuning in just to see what she'd do next. And it wasn't just her team benefiting from the hype. The entire league was lifted by the wave. Attendance jumped 48% across the board. That's not a small increase. That's a full-on surge of new fans packing arenas. And then there's the merchandise. Buckle up. Sales exploded by 600%. Caitlin Clark's jersey became the hottest, most in-demand item in the entire WNBA.
In Asia, despite being a third-time MVP, her jersey sales were 5th in the league even after we saw the jersey sales numbers. We didn't actually see the actual numbers, but we saw the top jersey sales in the WNBA.
You know that the Indiana Fever done put out a bunch of notes about attendance records being broken and all of this other.
People who had never watched a single WNBA game in their lives were suddenly wearing Caitlin Clark jerseys. Picture this. The Indiana Fever went from averaging just over 4,000 fans per game to pulling in more than 17,000. That's more than 4 times the crowd. It was like Clark had a gravitational force, pulling fans straight into the arena. And if you're wondering just how massive her impact really was, look no further than her rivalry with Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. That matchup attracted the largest audience for a WNBA game in more than 2 decades. That's not just setting records, it's rewriting the history books.
But the top topic of conversation will be the Rookie of the Year race between Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark and the Chicago Sky's Angel Reese. You know Angel Reese is a walking double-double, and she's an Energizer Bunny, and her can't go unnoticed is the fact that these 2 young ladies are box office draws.
That wasn't just breaking records, it was blowing them to pieces. Caitlin Clark wasn't simply another player, she was a full-blown phenomenon. Even people who couldn't tell a basketball from a soccer ball were tuning in just to watch her play. She was everywhere, dominating social media, leading headlines, and driving non-stop conversation. Clark didn't just elevate the game. She reshaped the entire culture surrounding women's basketball. Even the WNBA commissioner admitted it. She brought a level of attention the league had never experienced before. This wasn't just about changing how the game was played. Caitlin Clark transformed the league itself. It was as if she had a magic touch, turning everything she came near into gold.
Maybe if they had 10 Caitlin Clarks spread throughout the league, maybe it would be watchable then. If you're one of the dozens of fans in the WNBA, it is only going to get worse from here.
Clark's magic felt unstoppable until suddenly everything flipped. Packed arenas turned quiet, and those once record-breaking ratings were slashed in half. How did the WNBA go from soaring at the top to struggling for survival so fast? It was like someone hit a switch. One moment, Caitlin Clark was everywhere, shattering records and dominating headlines. The next, she was gone, and the league was left scrambling to keep up. Remember those unbelievable viewership numbers we talked about? They didn't just dip, they fell off a cliff. We're talking about a 50% drop almost overnight. The highly anticipated Aces vs. Liberty rematch? It managed to draw just 929,000 viewers.
403,000. And it's not just the ratings that were in the pooper. Attendance was clogging the drain. Ratings for Game 1 have got to be disappointing for Kat Engelbert in the WNBA front office.
That's a long way from the millions who were tuning in just to watch Clark work her magic. When she left, it wasn't just one player walking away. It felt like the air was sucked out of the entire league. Arenas that were once packed wall to wall suddenly struggled to fill seats, and teams that had been riding the Clark wave found themselves tossed into rough waters. The financial fallout was ugly. Teams began cutting player salaries across the board. They didn't have much choice. Without Clark driving massive revenue, something had to give. And you know it's bad when people start joking that WNBA salaries are being compared to high school gym teachers. Now, let's talk attendance. Remember when the league saw a 48% surge while Clark was playing? That boost disappeared almost instantly, faster than one of her logo threes. Teams that were selling out games are now staring at rows of empty seats. And the merchandise boom? Gone. That 600% spike vanished overnight. One day, Clark jerseys were flying off the shelves. The next, they were gathering dust. Even the WNBA commissioner admitted it. Clark was the glue, the foundation holding the league together. Without her, that foundation is starting to crack. The league that was soaring just months ago is now struggling to stay aloft. Right now, the league is in survival mode, scrambling just to keep its head above water. And it's not only about money. Clark brought in an entirely new audience. People who had never watched a WNBA game suddenly became weekly viewers. Now, those casual fans have disappeared. The future of the WNBA is hanging by a thread, and every move from this point forward could determine the fate of women's professional basketball. Let's be honest, a WNBA without Caitlin Clark is like a burger without the patty. It just doesn't hit the same. Those packed arenas and record-setting ratings feel like a distant memory. A league that was soaring just months ago is now fighting to stay afloat, like someone slammed the emergency brake on the hype train. But the WNBA isn't waving the white flag yet. There's a plan in motion, and it starts with finding the next breakout star, someone who can fill those Caitlin Clark-sized shoes. And it's not just about talent on the court. The league has to hold onto the casual fans Clark pulled in. Consider this. During Clark's season, the Indiana Fever saw attendance jump by 319%. That's unreal. But since then, those numbers have fallen hard. It's almost like Clark was the Pied Piper of basketball. When she left, the fans followed. Time is not on the league's side. Every day without a new Clark is costing them. Players are already looking overseas for better pay, and the pressure is building. This is a ticking time bomb, and the WNBA has to defuse it before it's too late. And here's the wild part. Clark didn't just bring fans into arenas. She turned casual viewers into die-hard supporters. Interest in the WNBA exploded during Clark's run. Google searches for the league jumped by more than 300%. That's not just record-breaking. It's record-shattering. But now comes the million-dollar question. Can the WNBA keep that momentum alive without her? It's like the league finally got a taste of success and now has to recreate the formula without its secret ingredient. The WNBA is standing at a crossroads. They've seen what's possible. Now they have to figure out how to reach that level again and, this time, sustain it. And it's not just about discovering the next star. It's about reimagining the entire product. Every game has to feel like a must-watch event, even without a Caitlin Clark showdown on the floor. Clark showed the world what the WNBA could be. She wasn't just another great player, she was a catalyst. Her games averaged around 1.2 million viewers, nearly triple the audience of games without her. It was like a switch flipped, and suddenly everyone was paying attention. But her impact didn't end at the buzzer. She brought in new fans, sparked nonstop buzz, and proved just how exciting women's basketball can be. Now the responsibility falls on the league to carry that energy forward. The challenge is clear: develop new stars, build compelling storylines, and keep those new fans engaged. This isn't about replacing Caitlin Clark. It's about expanding on the foundation she laid. The real question isn't whether the WNBA can survive without her. It's whether they can take what she started and turn it into something even bigger.